Hey guys, Steve Wise here, president founder of Mental Fitness LLC, recording live from my basement. Thank you all for being with me today. I am eager to talk about leadership and inspiration with you all. So with that, let's begin. I am going to share my screen and hope that this records in one good take. So once again, my name is Steve Wise. I am Dr. Wise's husband. And the business that I have is Mental Fitness. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I would sincerely like to thank you all for having me. So I'd like to thank Heritage Valley Health System, my wife and Dr. Hobosol. This is my second time speaking for you all, and I am incredibly honored to do it. So let's dive right in. This is me and my wife, Dr. Wise. This is us at a pirate game. It is a picture of the Clementi Bridge here, actually, that we have behind us. And I love her dearly. This is our pet family. We have Hamilton is the collie. We have a Shih Tzu, Sierra. We have Sasha and Ella, the two Pomeranians in the middle. We have Butters in the foreground, and our former cat, Winston, up top. I hardly ever wear black to a professional engagement because I just would be covered in pet hair, but I love our adopted pet family. But even more than I love our adopted pet family, I love our 2-year-old son, Wesley, who is about to be 3. He is a handful and he is high energy, but I love him dearly. It is a lot of fun to be the father of a toddler. Sometimes I feel like Phil from Modern Family. For example, we were at a trampoline park the other weekend, and I am that dad that can't resist that. So having a 3-year-old gives me a lot of good excuses to do really childish, immature things and still have it look kind of like, I should be doing it. And then more recently, my wife and I had our daughter, Madison Rose. So Maddie is a 412 baby, born on April 12th. And she completes our family. She's got me a little bit sleep deprived at the moment, but that's okay. We love her dearly, and I'm incredibly thankful to be a father 2 times over now. That being said, I used to give presentations on like stress management as a single person, and then I became a parent, and I thought to myself, man, I'm a fraud. This is really hard. And so parenting is definitely the hardest job, I would say, but also the most rewarding. So that is about me personally. Professionally, what is mental fitness? Well, mental fitness is the idea that our mind is a muscle. And just like our physical fitness can be improved with work, so can our mental fitness. The challenge is we don't think about our thinking that often. We don't recognize that we have 60,000 thoughts per day, and that's about a thought per second. But for most of us, 95% of these thoughts are the same as the days before. They're habitual. And for many of us, it's a 3-to-1 negative to positive thought ratio. And this is perhaps why it used to be that 1 out of 5 people would struggle with mental health in our society. Now it's more like 1 out of 3. Our wiring is just a bit outdated. We're kind of wired in our programming to see threats and negativity in our environment. And that perhaps helped when we were trying to avoid saber-toothed tigers. But in today's age, it really just kind of makes us depressed. The good news is, however, that is 100% in our control. And just like we can work to eliminate toxic eating and think and consume better our 2,000 calories a day or to get better sleep, so can we improve what thoughts we allow into kind of our heart and our being past our gate, and what negative thinking we kind of just let pass by like a cloud in the sky. And that's kind of what mental fitness is all about. So for me, attitude is truly everything, right? You are not your thoughts, you're the gatekeeper of your thoughts. Just like you choose what you eat and consume, so do we with our thoughts. But we also have to recognize what is toxic and what isn't. Because if we're putting junk in our body, you're gonna feel tired and sluggish. But if you're allowing positivity into your mind, you're going to have that emotional state that follows as well. So with that being said, today we are here to talk about leadership and inspiration. We're going to go over 3 things. I'm going to try to keep it to about 30, 40 minutes here. And the 3 main things that we are going to discuss are the 4 types of thought, This is kind of an original mental fitness categorization of thoughts, but for me, there are 4 types of thought that our thoughts can fall into basically 4 categories, and that is to be a dreamer, a doer, a doubter, and a hater. And we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about 10 tips for success, 10 kind of strategies that I want to offer and give you as practical takeaways to apply for the rest of your lives. And we're talking about a couple everyday heroes and how, not all heroes wear a cape and how you guys can be that as well. So good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. That's what we're going for today. All right, 4 types of thought. Thought type number 1, we got your dreamers. These are your visionaries. These are people with big, lofty goals, right? They hope and inspire others. Sometimes they question the status quo. Quite often they have the entrepreneurial itch and want to build things and have that kind of 1% big dream ability, that they have that grandiose thoughts and those grand dreams. And that is truly a gift to be a dreamer and to believe that you can create something from nothing, that you can take something from 0 to 1, or that you can accomplish really, really big goals in your life. And becoming a doctor is an incredibly large goal. So all of you have a bit of that quality. The downside of the dreamer tendency is that sometimes we want others to do it for us. We look at our success then being up to someone else, and may not dreamers in general be the best at kind of following through. Maybe not the most detail-oriented, maybe kind of stay a little too much in dreamland at times and don't kind of get their hands muddy and get their hustle muscle going. So pros and cons to being a dreamer. Thought type number 2, doers. Doers are the ones who have the hustle muscle. They're willing to give 99% of what it takes to get a goal done. They have strong commitment levels, not afraid to get their hands dirty. Usually these people are your type A, high achiever, prestige pathways, control, discipline. Many doctors fall into this category as well. So the doer muscle is great because it's what it takes to get things done. The challenge with the doer type of thought is that sometimes these folks are the more inside the box thinkers. They may not have that kind of big dream mentality or a little bit risk averse, and that's okay. There's no wrongness to being more of a doer or a dreamer, but you kind of want to have both those in your life. What you don't want to have is doubt. To be a leader, there's a certain amount of imposter syndrome. It is unavoidable. Imposter syndrome is that psychological response of, I feel like I'm kind of faking it. I don't feel like this is necessarily authentically me, or I'm not worthy of this. And kind of imposter syndrome statements sound like this. I'm not educated enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I'm not confident enough to do this. I don't have enough experience yet. I'm not ready yet. I don't know where to begin. It's too difficult. I'm not good enough. I don't have any luck. It's not the right timing. Nobody believes in me. People are holding me back. I'm afraid what others think. I'm afraid of making a mistake. Failure would crush me. I don't know the right people. It's too risky. I've tried. It can't be done. I can't deal with all these problems. I'm not creative enough. This type of thinking, this doubter type of thinking that we all have, is inevitable. We all do have it. The key is, how do we tame it? People who are great leaders aren't without doubt. They have just trained their brain to be able to recognize this doubt and kind of put it in its place. So let's go back and give it a try here, right? The goal is to say, I've had great education and I can lean back, I can fall back on that. I will make money throughout my career. I will make time. I believe in myself. I will gain experience as I go. I'm going to commit and figure out along the way. It's okay if I don't know where to begin. I'm just going to take the first step that comes to me. It's a positive challenge, not a negative threat. I am good enough. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. I will find the time. I will find people who support me and surround myself with them. I believe in the goodness of people, and I will find people who encourage me and inspire me. I'm not afraid of what others think. I'm confident enough to be myself. If I make a mistake, I'm human, and that's okay. Failure, I can grow from. Failure stands for first attempt in learning. I will find the right people. If it's risky, I'm going to make it a calculated risk. Even if I've tried and failed before, that's okay. I believe my abilities are flexible and not fixed. I can deal with this. I believe in myself. I will think of creative ways to get it done because I have a strong why, which will overcome any how in the way. Now, that's just an example. But if you really want to work on this, one thing that you all can do is get this PowerPoint from Dr. Hobesall, take these doubter statements, cross them out, rewrite them for yourself. Practice the plasticity of going from the doubter thought to the doer dreamer thought. And just like our mind is a muscle, it can be trained. That's what mental fitness is all about. So my hope with portraying that is that we recognize, hey, we all struggle with imposter syndrome at times. In fact, many people do. Maya Angelou, Tom Hanks identifies as having imposter syndrome. Chuck Lorre, Michelle Obama, Michelle Pfeiffer, Emma Watson, all of these people have recognized that they struggle with self-doubt at times. We all do. The key is recognizing it, having the right practical strategies to kind of keep it in place, to let that doubt kind of, if it's like a nagging neighbor, if you keep letting it in, it keeps coming back, it keeps becoming habitual, to let that doubt, knock, keep it out, walk by like a cloud in the sky. So that is category number 3, the doubter. Characteristics of doubters might be judging silently, going to limit their own potential, don't really move the needle of progress, think more often it could never be done than why not. Most doubters aren't necessarily drowning, but they're not thriving either. They're kind of surviving, and it's a very self-limiting type of thought. And then there's kind of the worst here, and I hope that none of this applies to you, but then there's kind of the hater hat or the critic. These are the people who have been beat down by life into a feeling of learned helplessness. And that is, I've tried, I've failed, I feel like it's not worth trying anymore, and then kind of believe that misery loves its company. So our society kind of rewards haters because we look at critical people and we think, oh man, they must be smart. They're able to tear this apart, but not really. The hater hat, the hater thought pattern is one that doesn't lead you to propose alternate solutions. It gets you myopic kind of tunnel vision thinking and not very creative. It sometimes has that scarcity mindset. People will position themselves as I just keep it real, but really it's a lot of naysaying, judging, and seeing voids. And it kind of falls into this fundamental lack of appreciation error, lack of creativity type thinking that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So best way to eliminate the hater thought is to be so busy improving yourself, you don't have time to criticize others, because that's where we're keeping our focus. And that's what we're going to focus on today. What are some strategies, leadership and inspiration strategies that you can do for self-improvement? So I like this by Theodore Roosevelt here. I'm going to read it. It's called The Man in the Arena. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who thrives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. So his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither knew victory nor defeat. Obviously, the his tense here is a little bit sexist, and it could be his or hers, but the person in the arena, the doctor in the arena, right, is what it's all about. It kind of reminds me of a speech that Jim Carrey gave and said, hey, life is uncertain. We all may fail. So why not take a shot at something you love? And don't let fear guide you into making decisions based in fear disguised as practicality. Get in the game. Don't be afraid. You're going to learn as you go. You're going to make mistakes. And yet, failure is just first step in learning. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. Fear is just excitement in need of an attitude adjustment. I know these are some cliche mantras, but it's that type of mentality that it takes to practice so that when those hard times come, that thought comes to you and you're not afraid to kind of get in the game. So The key here, guys, is to recognize of those four types of thought, the dreamer, the doer, the doubter, and the hater, we want to emphasize the first two, to be that combination dreamer doer, right? And that is the key to being a great leader and being successful, to be the visionary, to dream big, to push yourself, to get outside of your comfort zone, and to get the little things done, to take things one step at a time, to follow through, to have commitment. That's the script for success. So, speaking of success, let's move to part 2 here. 10 tips for success, our final countdown of 10 tips for success, even though we are going to talk about a couple everyday heroes after that too. So, let's jump right in. Tip number 1, find a mentor. Mentors aren't just for residency or for being an intern or a student. Mentors are important all throughout life. The line that I always like to think of is a wise person learns from his or her own mistakes. A wiser person learns from the mistakes of others. The wisest people learn from the successes of others. So that being said, I want to help you sharpen that learning curve and find others who have succeeded and follow their path. Key to doing that is to reach out, to have the courage to say, hey, I would love to learn from you. And to reach out strategically, to kind of reach out one rung at a time, reach out to those above you, reach out to those who have done it before, and ask them how they do it. And continue to, throughout all of your life, be that humble student. Before we are ever great leaders, we are great followers. Who exemplifies that is my man, Sidney Crosby. This is a picture of Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux. Sidney Crosby, for those of you who may not know, started his career, I believe, when he was about 18 or 19 years old, and Lemieux was at the tail end of his. They had a season, maybe a season and a half together. And Sidney Crosby lived in Mario Lemieux's basement that season. Mario was a mentor to him. He taught him how to be a badass on the ice, but also then very humble in interviews. And Sid learned leadership from one of the best, Mario Lemieux. You're a great follower before you're a great leader. And that's kind of tip number 1. Tip number 2, get that hustle muscle. Work that doer thought and turn it into action. Genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. This is that mentality of I don't expect anyone else to do it for me. I'm okay with getting my hands dirty. I'm okay with breaking tasks down to what's my next small step and getting it done. Being a doctor is incredibly hard. It is hard on your schedule. It is hard psychically. It is hard physically. It takes a strong mental mentality to embrace that suck and to kind of embrace that hustle muscle that I'm going to keep going, keep thriving, keep pushing. And that's what I want to encourage you guys to have, to not be afraid to work that hustle muscle. Tip 3, believing in yourself. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So when we look at believing in oneself, the belief in oneself is the biggest predictor of one's future success. It's known as the self-fulfilling prophecy, and we've seen this time and time again with the Rosenthal study, which was basically there's a researcher named Jacob Rosenthal. He and his colleagues came in and talked with teachers. And they came in and they dressed up and they looked very professional and they said, excuse me, teacher, I would love to give your students, an IQ test. The teachers believed that that's what the researchers were doing, and the researchers gave these students a test, and then they gave the results to the teacher. The trick here is that the test was bogus. It wasn't an IQ test, but the teachers believed it was a real test, and some kids were labeled academic bloomers and others were just kind of labeled as normal. And the researchers were curious, would the ones that they labeled as academic bloomers, would they fill that role? Or because they weren't actually helping tutor them, would that give them too high a bar and then they would fail, right? That would actually be a negative thing. But really what happened was it was wild. In some cases, it was almost as if the test existed, as if it was a real test. Because what happened was the teacher believed in the student, and then the student believed in his or herself, and then the performance went up. Right? We never want to get caught in that I'll always be stuck here, I'll never type thinking. Instead, we want to always believe in ourselves, never give up. The belief in yourself, that confidence, is the number one predictor of your success in anything. Let's feed that beast, starve the doubt. Tip 4, similar to tip 1, to be a follower, get help. No big dreams happen without a team. There's 3 factors to job satisfaction. There is feeling valued and important as a part of the team, relationship with immediate supervisor, and level of autonomy. You have those things, you're probably going to stick with the job. You don't, you're probably going to leave it quickly. As a leader, you want to be mindful of those things, and you want to get help, right? In this picture, we have myself, we have our office manager, Anna, we have 2 other clinicians, Howard and Jessica, and since then, the support staff has grown to include Tyler, our business developer, Spencer, a mental fitness student athlete coach, Sean, a social media intern that we've bringing on, Alex, he's my videographer, Will, he's the website guy, Ashley's coming on as another licensed therapist, Daniel, who does guided imagery. The picture underplays the extent of the team, but I couldn't run the business that is mental fitness without Anna helping with the billing, without Tyler helping with the business development, without Jessica helping with the Instagram and social media, without me having a great and awesome trusting relationship with all of those folks to get their roles done. The key is, if you score a goal, to give people credit for giving you the assist. That is what it is all about, the kind of getting help, forming a team. We can't do it all ourselves. Every doctor needs a great support staff. The techs, the nurses, everybody who is involved in that. Sorry, my foot's kind of falling asleep the way I'm sitting. You want to have that help, and you want to show them a great amount of appreciation and importance, and then they're going to be there for you at the drop of a hat. Something very to be mindful of. Seeking support is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. Keep a great team around you, and you'll achieve great things. 5, find a way or find an excuse. I love this one. It plays into, if you have a strong why, it's easy to overcome any how. I'm trying to think of a good example for this one. I'm kind of winging this a little bit. Find a way or find an excuse. So it's easy with the wrong mentality to not even see the possibilities. I think of the story of the 2 shoe salesmen who go to a developing country, and one comes back and says, that was a waste of time, and over there is wearing shoes. Another comes back and says, this is a gold mine. Nobody's wearing shoes yet. So having a positive mentality actually helps you find those opportunities in life. But when you find a way or find an excuse, I think of Jesse Itzler, who is married to Sarah Blakely. I'm going to mention Sarah in a future slide here. Jesse's a pretty creative guy, somebody I admire. He once went to, I believe it was trying to get into a TED Talk, but did not have a ticket in advance and could not get one day of despite traveling there. So he sat outside of the TED Talk on day 1, and he noticed that there was a local pastry vendor that a lot of the people that were going to the TED Talk bought pastries from. So next morning, he got up for day 2 of the conference incredibly early and bought out all of the pastries. He still didn't get into the conference, but the goal of his was not really to learn from the TED Talks. It was to mingle with the people who were going to the TED Talks. And after having bought out all the pastries, when people went to buy their pastry, he was sold out. But guess who wasn't sold out? Jesse Itzler. He found a way. He didn't find an excuse. It's kind of an exaggerated story. It's a true story, but it illustrates perfectly that, when there's a will, there's a way. To find a way or find an excuse, I want you guys to challenge yourselves to always find a way and not give in to the easier, let's make an excuse, let's quit, let's give up. Success Tip number 6, respect the process. Life is not a game of perfect. It's an excellent book. It's called Golf is Not a Game of Perfect by Dr. Bob Rotella. Golf is scratched out and it's a life is not a game of perfect. But with anything, it's a process. There are failures. It's usually a non-linear process. You hit ceilings at times. You have setbacks. Even the process of building a brand is a 5-year process, right? Think about the process of becoming a doctor. For many people, it's 12 years or greater until you are kind of completely out there on your own. That is one heck of a process. That is a lot of skin in the game. And yet it's still kind of the commencement of it all. It's only the beginning. And it is always a process. So just like with mental fitness, when I try to help people recondition their 60,000 thoughts a day, I look at it, like the gym. You might go to the gym every day for a month before you really start seeing results. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you can embrace that process and focus on the progress over perfection, you'll go a long way. Tip 7, embrace failure. When I mentioned Sarah Blakely, that's her. Sarah Blakely is a self-made billionaire and founder of the women's clothing line Spanx. She's also married to Jesse Itzler. So Sarah, you may have seen her. She's been a shark on Shark Tank. Sarah actually failed her law examination. I want to say 3 times that she couldn't get into law. But when Sarah was growing up, her parents would sit at the dinner table, and rather than parents kind of standardly asking, "Hey, tell us about your day," they asked, "So what did you fail at?" And then they would celebrate that failure, and they would say, "Great, you failed at this. That means you pushed yourself hard enough to get outside of your comfort zone. That's awesome." They embraced failure, and she had that kind of mental conditioning all through her life that failure's okay. We can embrace it. We can learn from it. We can get back up, get back on the horse, and do it again. I think Sarah one time was struggling to contact someone and actually just sent them one shoe and said, "Hey, now that I've got a foot in the door, maybe I've got your attention too." Talk about finding a way or finding an excuse, right? So rethinking the way we think of failure. Everybody's going to have missteps, whether it's in surgery, whether it's in therapy, whether it's in business, whether it's in life. Can we look at that not for its physical fairness and judge it, but look at it as a character building experience? Because that is the only way we grow. We don't grow in our comfort zones. We grow in our courage zones. Failure is to be embraced. It's what keeps us growing. Tip 8, investing in yourself. The best investment you will ever make is in yourself. Why I love investing in myself is because unlike investing in the stock market or anything else, it is a bet, investing in yourself, that you are 100% in control of. You're in control of what you do with an investment in yourself. So kind of 8.5 here is to always be learning. That is probably the best way that you can continue to invest in yourself. Learning doesn't end when residency ends or your fellowship ends or your grad school ends. Learning happens all throughout life. So case in point, of the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, these folks are reading about 60 books a year, about 5 books a month. The average American reads less than 1. What sets highly successful leaders apart is that they are humble enough to always be learning. The learning process doesn't stop. They don't stagnate and hit a ceiling once they get into their full professional career. That is still, again, just the beginning. An investment in yourself is an investment that you are in control of. The best way to invest in yourself is to continue to learn, continue to be a student, continue to sharpen the saw and get better. Tip 9, priorities and sacrifices. Life's challenging in that in order to say yes to something big, we have to say no to a lot of other things. The example that I will mention here is that when I was buying my first home, about 7 years ago at this point, I bought my first home before my first smartphone. Now, it was a bit embarrassing, even as of 6, 7 years ago, to not have a smartphone. I would say 95% of the people I had had a smartphone. But for me, owning a home was the bigger priority, and it took sacrifices. Now, if you have big goals, and I hope that everyone here listening to this does, it takes incredible sacrifices. For many people who are doctors at this point, you've sacrificed, the majority of your 20s, if not all of it, to get to where you're at today. That is incredible. The more you sacrifice, the more rewarding it is, right? It's not that much sacrifice to train for a 5K, but it's, depending on your baseline, it's not that rewarding to do. It is that much of a sacrifice to train for a half marathon or a marathon, and it's that much more rewarding. So in life, we all have priorities and sacrifices. In order to say yes to the big goals, we have to say no to the other stuff. And that is what I want to encourage you to think about. That is what leaders do. They'll say no to the Netflix, or no to the sleeping in, et cetera, because life's hard either way. It's hard to be fit. It's hard to be fat. Why not say yes to the hard stuff that makes you better? Tip 10, take calculated risks. When I opened up mental fitness, I thought about, okay, this is challenging. So you're telling me I have to sign for the rent on day one, and let's say that's $1,000 a month rent. That's $12,000 a year off the top before I've even built out one client. I have to wait to get networked with insurances. I don't have any clients, but I have rent as a $12,000 upfront risk. Worth it. Worth it because it was a calculated risk. It was an investment in myself. It was something that obviously I'm proud of, but I want you guys to have the courage to take those same calculated risks, to believe in yourself and believe that, hey, if I fail at this and I can live through it, and that's the downside, but the upside is there, and you have that asymmetrical risk to reward, then it's worth doing. And not be afraid to take those calculated risks that push you throughout life, that get you in the, if you're achieving 100% in anything, you're probably underselling your potential. We want to fail about 15% of the time to stay in that flow, to know that, hey, you want to push yourself to take calculated risks to achieve your full potential and not play it too safe. Leaders aren't afraid to take those risks. They're not afraid to push themselves. They're not afraid to get outside of their comfort zone and in their courage zone. So, putting them all together, top 10 tips for success and in leadership and inspiration. Find a mentor, learn from people who have done it before. Get your hustle muscle going and embrace it. Be a doer. Believe in yourself. It's the biggest predictor of your success in anything. Get help. Great teams lead to great dreams. Find a way or find an excuse. Don't let those excuses slip in when it's important enough. Respect the process, chip away at it, invest in yourself, embrace failure, always be learning, like Sarah Blakely embraced failure, and like CEOs read books. Priorities and sacrifices. If you're going to say yes to something big, you got to say no to the other things that aren't as important. And don't be afraid to take those calculated risks and those investments in yourself to stay in that growth state. So, part 3 here, and wrapping it up. Not all heroes wear capes. Be the change, light the candle. Be the change is be the change you want to see in the world. It's paraphrasing Gandhi. Light the candle is better to light the candle than curse the darkness. Paraphrasing Dr. Martin Luther King. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. As a leader, it is your responsibility to be the example you want to see in others. It is your responsibility to have the attitude that you want others to have. And the more you own that, the more it will get mirrored back to you. So let's talk about that. 2 people I want to talk about, one better known, one lesser known. First better known one is my sports hero, Roberto Clemente, who said, if you have an opportunity to make things better and you don't, then you are wasting your time on earth. Roberto Clemente understood what it was to be outward facing. He understood what it was to focus his life on serving others. He understood that life is a gift, and to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. And he recognized that, there are important things, and baseball is cool, but helping out, his hometown when there was an earthquake over New Year's is what he died doing, and I don't think he'd have it any other way. What I want you guys to do is focus on your service and what you do and how what you do helps others transform as a result. You guys help people walk again. You help people have a higher quality of life. You help take away pain. It is a humble servant. It is an incredibly stressful, but also incredibly rewarding job. And I want you to focus on those transformations in your patients. That is the wins and the victories that will keep you going when everything else is tough. The law of attraction. This is the energy that we put out there gets mirrored back to us. So this is my grandma. My grandma, Marge Solar, had multiple sclerosis. But despite not being able to walk for the time that I knew her in my life, still my greatest hero. My grandma had an incredible attitude. Even as she aged and her physical abilities diminished, her spirit was always great. And because of that, I would see her as she went into higher and higher levels of care, have people around her who had more physical ability, and yet they were bitter and angry with the world. And so what happened? The world mirrored that. They may have had more ability, but my grandma had caretakers by her side all the time who wanted to help her and spend their breaks with her. She had friends and family around her all the time. As a leader, your attitude, which you are 100% in control of, it is the only thing in life. Your attitude is the only thing in life you are 100% in control of, is going to be mirrored by all of those around you. Do you want the team to be frustrated and short? Do you want the team to be happy and supportive and caring and know each other, take the time to get to know each other's lives, take the time to be kind even when you're stressed, take the time to give people that appreciation and those attaboys that is even more rewarding often than salary, right? To recognize that you are in 100% in control of your attitude and your attitude is contagious, it will be mirrored by everyone else around you. So leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. Your ability to empower others starts with you taking control of your own attitude. I want to end with this. I truly believe if you master your thinking, you master your life. We want to work to increase that doer, dreamer muscle, decrease the thoughts or tame those thoughts of doubt and remove those thoughts of hate. We want to look at those 10 tips for success and embrace them in every facet of life all throughout your life. We want to look at being a hero, being someone that other people can admire and striving to be that change you want to see in the world. And it starts with this. Watch your thoughts for they become your words. Watch your words for they become your actions. Watch your actions for they become your habits. Watch your habits for they become your character. Watch your character for it becomes your destiny. And with that, I thank you for watching. I wish you guys all of the best in the rest of your future careers. If you would like to keep in touch, the website is mental-fitness.us, or you can email me. But thank you for having me.